I wrote this script while there were sub-zero wind chills outside because what else was I going to do? In New England, it's pretty much sink or swim. You either get the 4 p.m. darkness lock-in or you get seasonal depression. Hi, my name is Aster. Friend Like Me is the kind of song where everyone was firing on all cylinders. There's incredible synergy between the composition, lyrics, performance, and animation, so if you don't understand what's happening under the hood, it's very easy for everything to go wrong. I'd say when it comes to the 2019 live action Friend Like Me rendition, the most obvious change is the overall energy. The 1992 version is more dynamic and sonically animated, while the remake uses a more subdued, stable backing that actually more closely resembles Ashman's 1988 demo. Here's all three side by side.
Had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales. Alibaba had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales.
Well, Alibaba, he had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales.
They could have done something really interesting here, actually. See, in Ashman's original idea, the genie was supposed to resemble a 1920s Harlem jazz singer portrayed by a black actor. After all, Ashman was a huge fan of black singing styles. The idea was shot down because of the implications of a black actor in a subservient role like the genie, but that's why the demo sounds like it does. It's more suited to that kind of performance. Tragically, the actor chosen for the remake was Will Smith, a man who could not sing anything, let alone Harlem jazz. All those talented people they could have picked from. Well, no point crying over spilt milk. We have a remake to pick apart.
Here I go.
In a very rare Aster moment, take a picture if you must, I actually want to praise something in a remake version. This drum-led intro actually sounds pretty great. I mean, the production isn't the best, but the composition is great.
Back up. Uh-oh. Watch out.
I mean, it still doesn't work. See, the original had horns, but the drums were much more buried in a good way. This allowed for better transition. I do also miss the original lead-in dialogue, as well as the genie rising up to let you know he's about to take center stage.
Why don't you just ruminate whilst I illuminate the possibilities?
The remakes in general tend to nix the rhythmic spoken intro to the songs, which is a shame because it makes the transition from dialogue to singing way more natural. Like, in a vacuum, I enjoy the sound of the heavier drums, but in practice, the sudden booming orchestration doesn't provide a stable bridge. Will Smith isn't doing more than ad-libbing either.
You done wound me up. About to show you what I'm working with.
The only reason it doesn't fail is because you already know the song. You're anticipating it in the scene, so the jump scare of the main riff sets off your dopamine receptors instead of your adrenaline. You may be asking, Aster, the original also had a sudden lead-in with horns, why did that work? Well, first of all, there's dialogue over it. Secondly, it's very subtle, and there's also this piano run.
Master, I don't think you...
So there's something besides that sudden smack in the face. There's that tiny little transition. The drum intro of the remake does have a quick run to cue you in though, so why doesn't it work as well? Easy. Juxtaposition and transition. Listen to the original. It very gracefully cushions its own landing. That's why you have this clarinet run to cue you in.
Possibilities. Well, Alibaba.
The original is far more subtle and buried by spoken dialogue, while the remake just comes at you full speed and full volume. It's very intense.
Watch out. You done wound me.
The remake's attempt at cushioning the landing is by using this incredibly low run on what's probably a trombone that you can barely hear and is entirely in the right ear.
To show you what I'm working with. Well, Alibaba.
Not to mention the visuals. The lighting is so bad the genie practically blends into the background. If I had blurry vision, I probably wouldn't be able to make out his shape, which is absolutely not the case in the original. At the main section, the remake's drums also immediately mellow out in terms of beat, but not in volume.
Alibaba, he had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales.
The drums are really forward in the mix, and the bass is pumped up like an EDM song in the Beats by Dre era, if you know, you know. Will Smith's voice is actively competing with those instruments. The horns don't help either.
You're in luck, because up your sleeves, you got a brand of magic never fails.
While the mixing is better in the soundtrack version, the movie version is the one you'd actually hear in context, so that's what I'm focusing on. The original is far more balanced.
Well, Alibaba had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales. But Master...
The backing is subtle, but the bass line is still apparent enough to provide the classic rhythm that carries the song. Even the genie's eyebrows are animated in time with it. The sound effects are also utilized to greater effect. It's not just that sword draw sound either. Listen to the footsteps of the thieves, also in line with the bass. There's instrumental ornamentation that's playing with the snappy animation.
Master, you in luck, cause up your sleeve.
You hear that tiny hold and release? It holds on that first line, then has this little ding on the second. And that works because Aladdin is being surrounded. That's tension. And then the genie eliminates the threat by giving him enormous arms. In the remake, neither of these techniques are used nearly as well despite the more overt beat. Like, here, the sound effects are kind of in rhythm, but being live action, they can't snap to perfect timing.
You're in luck because up your sleeves you got a brand of magic never fails.
And that trick with the tension isn't there. Even if it was, it wouldn't work since Aladdin isn't taken out of the danger at the same point.
Master, you in luck, cause up your sleeves you got a brand of magic never fails.
Instead of the genie giving Aladdin the power to defeat the thieves, the remake has the genie turn massive and launch the thieves off screen, like you could actually hear them yell out.
Fails. You got some power in your corner now.
The original has the genie make Aladdin punch all the thieves to show the strength he could have. Also, it's all on rhythm.
Sleeves you got a brand of magic never fails.
That continues on to the next line, which has a seamless transition both visually and musically. There's another soft run of a low woodwind and a boxing bell.
Magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now.
The bell landing right on power is great because of that associative image. It draws attention to the first important word in the new stanza, and it's doing it all with this wonderfully literal animation. The remake?
You got some power in your corner now. Heavy ammunition in your camp. You got some.
The choice to use a mechanical sound for the rhythmic effect is probably so it could be heard over the production. Despite both arms being directly in front of the viewer, the audio mixing heavily pans them towards their respective sides.
Heavy ammunition in your camp.
Even with a cinematic sound setup, I still think that's overkill. It also combines the sound of the blast with the horn hit, so you could barely hear the horn hit in question.
Camp. You got some punch.
The original doesn't actually have the blast sound, it's just the horns.
It's heavy ammunition in your camp.
I also like the choice in the delivery to skim over the word some, so the word ammunition could be enunciated better. The remake cuts the word some entirely, which also cuts the lyrical repetition of that word, but whatever. Who needs an extra syllable to create a smoother glide between phonemes? Smith did a lot of weird little changes like that. I didn't talk about it earlier, but in the first line, he changed had them 40 thieves to he had them 40 thieves, adding an extra syllable to a tight meter for no reason. I guess he wanted to put his own spin on it, but couldn't think of anything better than that.
Punch pizzazz. And how?
If you're listening with headphones, did you hear how that Yahoo was entirely in the right ear? Whoever directed the mixing of this audio should be slapped. Listening to this with headphones is miserable, and I had to listen to it over and over and over again.
All you gotta do is rub that lamp, and then I'll say.
I see what they were trying to do here, but as I often say, the final line of a stanza is meant to be conclusive. It's where you stick the landing. Muffling the singing to create the effect of a voice stuck inside a tin can doesn't give me the resolution my ear is looking for, especially since it makes the vocals blend with the horns even more. Listen to what the original does.
I'll say all you gotta do is rub that lamp, and I'll say.
There's not much volume on the horns, but they're there to cue us into that conclusion and transition. They're working with the vocals, not competing with them.
Mr. Aladdin, sir, what will your pleasure be?
I adore the harmonies that lower horn riff creates with the vocals. I also adore the way Williams delivers Mr. Aladdin, sir. It's so on point, I actually have to try not to say it in the rhythm that he does. The hard consonants line up perfectly with the most important beats, while the softer ones carry the rest. I know it's small, but these are the details that made Ashman and any lyricist legendary. It's what separates fantastic from good. The remake actually changes this line.
Mr. Man, what's your name? Whatever.
Which, of course, completely destroys that perfect opening to the stanza. The joke here is the genie didn't learn Aladdin's name during the scene. At first, I thought the change was because they didn't want the genie calling Aladdin Sir, considering the role and the actor, but Aladdin's already been addressed as Master, so Back to the original. On the following line, there's these higher strings to evoke a feeling of classiness since the genie is now in a fancy waiter outfit.
Let me take your order, jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me.
The remake keeps the trombone tuba walk down, but not that higher part. Also, one part of this horn section is entirely panned right.
Let me take your order, I'll jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me.
The restaurant visuals are kept, if far murkier and poorly framed, and the remake does in fact bother to add another instrument, in this case an accordion, to reflect this.
Life is your restaurant, and I'm your maitre d'.
Interestingly, the original does not have this. Instead, it reels back and then gives us a punch with both instrumentals and vocals.
Life is your restaurant, and I'm your maitre d'.
This sets up the end of the chorus since it will be rhymed with the refrain at the end. It's drawing our attention like a crosswalk ahead sign since it signals what's coming with a familiar pattern.
Whisper what it is you want. You ain't never had a friend like me.
The remake does understand this instrumentally, but Smith does not bring the same energy. Oh, it's also really annoying about the next line because they actually have Smith whisper and oh, the production.
Whisper to me whatever it is you want. You ain't never had a friend like me.
They added gain to the whispering, so it's grating. The original didn't cut the instrumentals either. And yes, that lyric was changed. Several more syllables were added, breaking the otherwise impeccable flow of the lyrics. The remake also cuts hard after the chorus.
You ain't never had a friend like me. We pride ourselves.
The original has that ad-libbed yes sir to prevent such a hard break between chorus and verse, and Williams' affectation prevents the line from sounding flat.
Friend like me. Yes, sir. We pride ourselves on service.
Visually, the remake continues to be muddy, dark, and plotting. Look at the sharp transitions of the original, whereas the remake just has Aladdin stepping out of a carriage over Smith's monotone delivery.
Pride ourselves on service. You the boss, the king, the shah.
The remake also lacks the building energy of the stanza's final line, which is one of my favorite parts of the original, so that's a shame. Listen to this small swell in the original.
True dish about a little more baklava.
There's a rising woodwind line that the remake doesn't have, which removes texture. That rising woodwind also works with the animation, which shows the pile of dessert rising. The remake's woodwind line actually goes down, but that's fine since nothing exciting is happening anyway.
About a little more baklava.
Aladdin should be overwhelmed by everything that's going on, but the remake doesn't have him on screen much at all. It makes sense because the remake exists on nostalgia, so it just needs to appeal to the audience's favorite parts instead of worrying about telling the story. It's not, oh, we need to communicate this part of the plot, it's, oh, the audience likes when the genie does stuff, so let's focus on the genie doing stuff.
Have some of column A, try all of column B.
Hey, what color palette should we use for this shot? Can you give me preschool painting project? And of course, with the remake's stagnant camera work, we lose the shot of Aladdin being lifted high into the air by the columns. Those were accompanied by these quick crescendo chords to help communicate the dizzying height.
Have some of column A, try all of column B.
What's funny is the remake does have movement on screen with the wardrobe shooting out and tries to use the same trick, but it's completely mismatched because the wardrobes are shooting out horizontally, not vertically. It can't be like an appearing sound either because it plays after the wardrobes have stopped moving.
Have some of column A, try all of column B.
I also have no idea what this accent is supposed to be.
I'm in the mood to help you, dude. You ain't
Like in the original, it's some sort of stereotypical skater voice, which makes sense.
I'm in the mood to help you, dude. You ain't never had.
It allows Williams to stretch out the rhyme of mood and dude with something culturally appropriate. Smith is doing like, I don't know, Australian, Northern English? Someone help me out here. After this is the dance break, which are polar opposites in the original and the remake. The original takes the break to focus on the genie's charming little moves. It's very cute.
Oh my. No, no.
The remake, on the other hand, has Aladdin put on strings and be puppeteered around by the genie.
this the big part.
I don't understand this. The genie has been singing about how Aladdin is the one in control, that his wish is the genie's command. Why the puppet imagery for Aladdin? It makes the genie seem like some kind of evil mastermind, which is not the point at all.
Watch out! This the big part. Oh!
Get it? Because you know the song. The big part you know is coming up. Clap. Except it's not the big part you know, since Will Smith beatboxes.
Can your friends go?
This is painful. It totally breaks the flow of the song, and let's be real, has beatboxing like this been cool in the past 15 years?
King of the land, I can sing rap dance if you give me a chance.
This is not a rhyme between dance and chants, by the way. It doesn't line up like that. The beatboxing also is in place of this,
Hey, look at here.
which prevents an awkward break in lyrics. Then Will Smith decided to rhyme lamp and chance instead of use this,
Abracadabra, let it rip, and then make the sucker disappear. Don't you sit there.
which gives a build to the final verse. The remake's version also has something of a build-up, but the verse doesn't follow through. It's basically back to the bass line from the first verse.
Don't sit there buggy-eyed. I'm here to answer all your midday prayers.
Oh yeah, that's another changed lyric. The original had it like this.
Don't you sit there, slack jaw, buggy-eyed. I'm here to answer all your midday prayers.
More syllables means more perceived speed and energy. The genie has done all this build-up. This is where he should be. He should be excited. Meanwhile, the remake has the genie literally flop down on a couch with Aladdin with syllables removed to make the vocals seem more relaxed. It's like the song has gone nowhere despite a literal beatboxing break. Smith also gave up on this line, he sounds half asleep.
Got a genie for your sharks affairs.
This is supposed to be a part of the song that's frenetic and elated.
Certified, you got a genie for a charge the fair.
All of the instrumental parts have come in. Low horns, high horns, piano, drums, bass. It's honestly really difficult for my ears to keep up.
How words to help you out, so what you wish I really want to know.
There's a lot of irregularity to invoke the feeling of being pulled around and overwhelmed by the options. Oh, here's a fun one. There's a line that Williams put an unusual rhythm on, but it's still on rhythm.
So what you wish I really want to know.
The remake tries to replicate this, but Smith adds no energy, so instead it comes off like he stopped caring and went off beat.
What you wish? I really want to know.
Not even close. I also want to point out the line before that one.
Got a powerful urge to help you out.
Wow, you sound so convincing. I've got a powerful urge to help you out. Did Smith forget he's supposed to be playing a genie who desperately wants to be freed from his lamp? Williams's frantic performance isn't just to be funny, you know, it's part of the storytelling. As in, it's part of the story you are telling. The story of your movie.
Mr. Aladdin, sir, have a wish or 2 or 3.
Remember, the genie doesn't know Aladdin's name in the remake, so instead we get this weirdly quiet addition from Aladdin.
Mr. Aladdin, yes. 1 wish or 2 or 3.
While removing the words have a from have a wish, a small change that takes away from the threat of agency. The remake version adds with Will Smith's half-hearted delivery and for some reason Aladdin joining in on the choreographed dance.
Never had a friend, never had a friend. You ain't never had a friend, never had a friend.
Why would he be dancing with the genie though? It's the genie's in-universe performance. He's introducing himself. Aladdin is the audience. Again, storytelling. You have to think about these things. If you wanted Aladdin to dance, you could have done what the Broadway version does, where the genie gives Aladdin the power to tap dance so he could join in. When you look at the original, Aladdin is still being caught up in the sequence as opposed to being an active part of it.
Friend, you ain't never had a friend, never had a friend, you ain't never.
The focus is still on the demonstration of the genie's abilities. He's putting on as big a show as possible to try and convince Aladdin to use him to grant wishes. At this point, he's not Aladdin's pal to hang out with, he's a powerful djinn who wants to be released from his curse. That's why he's putting his all into this. The banged out grand finale notes are accompanied by a new magical set piece.
Never had a friend.
So there's a proper visual build-up alongside the musical one. The live-action version of the ending has the two characters dancing together while they're silhouetted and blurred out by an insane amount of special effects.
Never had a friend, never had a friend. You ain't never.
The way Will Smith's voice is doubled over also sounds ridiculous.
You ain't never had a friend.
It's an incredibly rubbery-looking sequence of the characters jumping together, with no build-up or anything. Smith isn't even doing anything with his own volume, that's why it had to double up. Smith can't project, so he's also completely drowned out. If only Will Smith reverse inherited his daughter's musical ability. You know what's interesting though? The end credits of the remake has Will Smith rapping over a DJ Khaled beat that samples Friend Like Me.
Tell me whatever you need. Anything rearrange, even chronic.
It's done in the style of Will Smith's old school, family-friendly brand of hip-hop, and it's also a hint towards the antidote to the remake problem. Now, Disney would probably never do it because of nostalgia bucks, but I'd respect the remakes a lot more if they tried new takes on these stories. Not spiteful fixes, but new takes. If they used real intentionality, they could create fascinating new angles on these songs and stories we already know. They could have done a Harlem Jazz or 90s clean rap version of Friend Like Me and made it good in its own right, and we could judge it on its own merit. That was an option. Build around it. What does this mean? What does this change? As this channel's existence proves, all the little details matter. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you could do a new take on a classic Disney song, what would it be and why? Subscribe if you'd like, and maybe join the Discord if you'd like to yell about music with me. Have a wonderful day.